Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning, we'll be in Job chapter 31, verse 1, through chapter 33, verse 33. I made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I entertain thoughts against a virgin? What then would be one's lot from God above, one's heritage from the Almighty on high? Is it not misfortune for the unjust, and disaster for those who work iniquity? Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked in falsehood, and if my foot has hastened to deceit, let him weigh me with honest scales. Then God will discover my integrity. If my footsteps have strayed from the way, if my heart has gone after my eyes, or if anything has defiled my hands, then let me sow, and let another eat, and let my crops be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife turn the millstone for another man, and may other men have sexual relations with her, for I would have committed a shameful act, and iniquity to be judged. For it is a fire that devours even to destruction, and it would uproot all my harvest. If I have disregarded the right of my male servants, or my female servants when they disputed with me, then what will I do when God confronts me in judgment? When he intervenes, how will I respond to him? Did not the one who made me in the womb make them? Did not the same one form us in the womb? If I have refused to give the poor what they desired, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, if I ate my morsel of bread myself, and did not share any of it with the orphans, but from my youth I raised the orphan like a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone about to perish for lack of clothing, or a poor man without a coat, whose heart did not bless me as he warmed himself with the fleece of my own sheep, if I have raised my hand to vote against the orphan when I saw my support in the court, then let my arm fall from the shoulder, let my arm be broken off at the socket. For the calamity from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his majesty I was powerless. If I have put my confidence in gold, or said to pure gold, you are my security, if I have rejoiced because of the extent of my wealth, or because of the great wealth my hand had gained, if I looked at the sun when it was shining, and the moon advancing as a precious thing, so that my heart was secretly enticed, and my hand threw them a kiss from my mouth, then this also would be iniquity to be judged, for I would have been false to God above. If I have rejoiced over the misfortune of my enemy, or exulted because calamity found him, I have not even permitted my mouth to sin by asking for his life through a curse. If the members of my household have never said, if only there were someone who has not been satisfied from Job's meat, but no stranger had to spend the night outside, for I opened my doors to the traveler. If I have covered my transgressions, as men do, by hiding iniquity in my heart, because I was terrified of the great multitude, and the contempt of families terrified me, so that I remained silent and would not go outdoors. If only I had someone to hear me. Here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. If only I had an incident that my accuser had written. Surely I would wear it proudly on my shoulder. I would bind it on me like a crown. I would give him an accounting of my steps like a prince. I would approach him. If my land cried out against me, and all its furrows wept together, if I have eaten its produce without paying, or caused the death of its owners, then let thorns sprout up in place of wheat, and in place of barley, weeds. The words of Job are ended here. So these three men refused to answer Job further, because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, of the family of Ram, became very angry. He was angry with Job for justifying himself rather than God. With Job's three friends he was also angry, because they could not find an answer, and so declared Job guilty. Now Elihu had waited before speaking to Job, because the others were older than he was. But when Elihu saw that the three men had no further reply, he became very angry. So Elihu, son of Barachel the Buzite, spoke up. I am young, but you are elderly. That is why I was fearful, and afraid to explain to you what I know. I said to myself, age should speak, and length of years should make wisdom known. But it is the spirit in people, the breath of the Almighty, that makes them understand. It is not the aged who are wise, nor old men who understand what is right. Therefore I say, listen to me. I, even I, will explain what I know. Look, I waited for you to speak. I listened closely to your wise thoughts while you were searching for words. Now I was paying you close attention, yet there was no one proving Job wrong. Not one of you was answering his statements. So do not say, "We have found wisdom." God will refute him, not man. Job has not directed his words to me, and so I will not reply to him with your arguments. They are dismayed and cannot answer any more. They have nothing left to say, and I have waited. But because they do not speak, because they stand there and answer no more, I too will answer my part. I too will explain what I know, for I am full of words, and the spirit within me constrains me. Inside, I am like wine which has no outlet, like new wineskins ready to burst. I will speak so that I may find relief. I will open my lips so that I might answer. I will not show partiality to anyone, nor will I confer a title on any man, for I do not know how to give honorary titles. If I did, my Creator would quickly do away with me. But now, O Job, listen to my words, and hear everything I have to say. See now, I have spoken, I have opened my mouth, my tongue in my mouth has spoken. My words come from the uprightness of my heart, and my lips will utter knowledge sincerely. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Reply to me, if you can. Set your arguments in order before me, and take your stand. Look, I am just like you, in relation to God. I too have been molded from clay. Therefore, no fear of me should terrify you, nor should my pressure be heavy on you. Indeed, you have said in my hearing, I heard the sound of the words, I am pure, without transgression, I am clean, and have no iniquity. Yet God finds occasion with me. He regards me as his enemy. He puts my feet in shackles. He watches closely all my paths. Now in this you are not right. I answer you, for God is greater than a human being. Why do you contend against him? For he does not answer all a person's words. For God speaks the first time in one way, the second time in another, though a person does not perceive it, in a dream, a night vision, when deep sleep falls on people as they sleep in their beds. Then he gives a revelation to people, and terrifies them with warnings, to turn a person from his sin, and to cover a person's pride. He spares a person's life from corruption, his very life from crossing over the river. Or a person is chastened by pain on his bed, and with the continual strife of his bones, so that his life loathes food, and his soul rejects appetizing fare. His flesh wastes away from sight, and his bones, which were not seen, are easily visible. He draws near to the place of corruption, and his life to the messengers of death. If there is an angel beside him, one mediator out of 1,000, to tell a person what constitutes his uprightness, and if God is gracious to him and says, Spare him from going down to the place of corruption, I have found a ransom for him, then his flesh is restored like a youth's. He returns to the days of his youthful vigor. He entreats God, and God delights in him. He sees God's face with rejoicing, and God restores to him his righteousness. That person sings to others, saying, I have sinned and falsified what is right, but I was not punished according to what I deserved. He redeemed my life from going down to the place of corruption, and my life sees the light. Indeed, God does all these things twice, 3 times, in his dealings with a person, to turn back his life from the place of corruption, that he may be enlightened with the light of life. Pay attention, Job. Listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. If you have any words, reply to me. Speak, for I want to justify you. If not, you listen to me. Be silent, and I will teach you wisdom. So, you have Job here, asserting his integrity again. Yeah. Calling down a curse on himself in the end here. If my land cried out against me and all its furrows wept together, if I have eaten its produce without paying or caused the death of its owners, then let thorns sprout up in place of wheat and in place of barley weeds. So, and his friends were discouraged to answer him anymore after that. So you have this guy who was standing around all this time listening to this conversation happening, named Elihu. And he said that I'll refrain from speaking because age should speak and length of years should make wisdom known. That is, the young shouldn't interject into this conversation, because those advanced in age are wise. But he dismissed that and says, "It is not the aged who are wise, nor old men who understand what is right, but it is a spirit in people, the breath of the Almighty, that makes them understand." So. I guess Elihu's initial argument here, I kind of agree with. Yeah, like that man, as a general rule of thumb, is not righteous before God, because of it's so easy to sin at least once in a person's life. And you have things like Romans 3:23, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." But the problem with how Job's friends were using it was that, well, it was like relative in one's lifespan. That is, you're sinning now, so God's punishing you now for the sin that you're doing now, not as like a you've sinned once in the past. Yeah, he does take a whole chapter to say, let me tell you what I'm about to say. But I do like the in the second chapter, in 33, when this person draws near to the place of death, if there is an angel beside him, one mediator out of 1,000, to tell a person what constitutes his uprightness, and if God is gracious to him and says, "Spare him from going down to the place of corruption, I have found a ransom for him," then his flesh is restored like a youth's. He returns to the days of his youthful vigor. It just seems like you have this ransom for a man's life being presented here. It's being done by the participation of an angel that is a messenger. This ransom for the man's life is sparing him from death and restoring him. So, sounds a lot like Jesus to me. Carrying on, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 1 through 18. Are we beginning to commend ourselves again? We don't need letters of recommendation to you or from you, as some other people do we? You yourselves are our letters, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone, revealing that you are a letter of Christ, delivered by us, written not with ink, but the Spirit of the living God, not on stone tablets, but on tablets of human hearts. Now we have such confidence in God through Christ, not that we are adequate in ourselves to consider anything as if it were coming from ourselves, but our adequacy is from God, who made us adequate to be servants of a new covenant, not based on the letter, but on the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. But if the ministry that produced death, carved in letters on stone tablets, came with glory, so that the Israelites could not keep their eyes fixed on the face of Moses, because the glory of his face, a glory which was made ineffective, how much more glorious will the ministry of the Spirit be? For if there was glory in the ministry that produced condemnation, how much more does the ministry that produces righteousness excel in glory? For indeed, what had been glorious now has no glory, because of the tremendously greater glory of what replaced it. For if what was made ineffective came with glory, how much more has what remains come in glory? Therefore, since we have such a hope, we behave with great boldness, and not like Moses, who used to put a veil over his face to keep the Israelites from staring at the result of the glory that was made ineffective. But their minds were closed. For to this very day the same veil remains when they hear the old covenant read. It has not been removed, because only in Christ is it taken away. But until this very day, whenever Moses is read, a veil lies over their minds. But when one turns to the Lord, the veil is removed. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is present, there is freedom. And we all, with unveiled faces, reflecting the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another, which is from the Lord, who is the Spirit. That end part sticks out to me pretty heavily right now. That where the Spirit of the Lord, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is present, there is freedom. Reminds me of when Jesus was talking with the Jews. I think that was John. And he was essentially saying that they were slaves, and they were like, "Oh, what? We weren't slaves to anyone," and and even at that time they were slaves to Rome, essentially. But more than that, slaves to sin. And in another place, yeah, okay, it's John 8. In particular, 31. Then Jesus said to those Judeans who had believed him, "If you continue to follow my teaching, you are really my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." They say, "We are descendants of Abraham," they replied, "and have never been anyone's slaves. How can you say you will become free?" And Jesus answered them, "I tell you the solemn truth, everyone who practices sin is a slave of sin. The slave does not remain in the family forever, but the son remains forever. So if the Son sets you free, you will be really free." So, going along with that verse, that where the Spirit of the Lord is present, there's freedom. So, and I really do think that's true, and that if we're only being guided by what our flesh desires, that really limits us in our decisions. Like C.S. Lewis said regarding the world's dictators, that is how monotonously alike all the world's dictators have been, but how gloriously different are the saints. So, and finally, well, carrying on, Psalm 43, verses 1 through 5. "Vindicate me, O God, fight for me against an ungodly nation. Deliver me from deceitful and evil men. For you are the God who shelters me. Why do you reject me? Why must I walk around mourning because my enemies oppress me? Reveal your light and your faithfulness. They will lead me. They will escort me back to your holy hill and to the place where you live. Then I will go to the altar of God, to the God who gives me ecstatic joy, so that I express my thanks to you, O God, my God, with a harp. Why are you depressed, O my soul? Why are you upset? Wait for God, for I will again give thanks to my God for his saving intervention. Interesting. It has the same ending as the previous psalm, Psalm 42. I will again give thanks. Why are you upset? Wait for God, for I will again give thanks to my God for his saving intervention. So, and finally, Proverbs 22, verses 8 through 9. The one who sows iniquity will reap trouble, and the rod of his fury will end. A generous person will be blessed, for he gives some of his food to feed to the poor. Yep. Well, thank you for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.